Welcome back to Journey with Andy Part 7. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Help support my channel. So we pick up with Paul being extubated and out of the ICU. But now we have the issue of him not eating. And the feeding tube can't be placed. And he needs the feeding tube because he can't be discharged home with the NG tube because, one, he was already trying to pull it out in the hospital constantly and had to be in restraints because of it. And also because it increases, the risk of aspiration if it becomes dislodged. So they'd already tried to place it once and couldn't place it because of the location of his cancer. So they called in a surgeon from another hospital, and she came in and did the surgery and was able to place the feeding tube. And I don't know what she saw when she did the surgery, but he ended up with a colostomy as well. So she placed the feeding tube, and he ended up with a colostomy after she performed the surgery. So the next part, I'm not really sure, I can't remember exactly how it happened, whether or not he couldn't come off the ventilator after the surgery, or if after the surgery he just started declining and they had to put him back on the ventilator. But needless to say, he ended up back on the ventilator. So with this next portion, I can't remember how he ended up on the ventilator, but some of the things that I do remember, me and my aunt would go to visit, and this one particular visit, he was still on the ventilator, but they had the sedation off. And my aunt was holding his hand and she was talking to him, and she was saying, "Squeeze my hand." And at this point, of course, he'd been in bed so long, he was so weak, but she could feel him kind of flexing his hand, trying to squeeze her hand. And she looked over at me and she was like, "He's squeezing my hand, I can feel it." And we were just thanking God and praising God and worshiping God. And I know the people in the hospital what's going on in their room, but we were just trying to contain our praise is what we were trying to do, because we were thanking and praising God in their room. And what really struck me next was when he raised his hand up to the ceiling while we were praising and did this number. And I was like, Paul's still in there. I was like, my Paul's still in there. And I don't know, and that just gave me some hope, that he was praising God in the way that he could at that time. He couldn't do nothing else, but he raised that hand up and gave praise the best way he could at that time. The next thing from that time period that sticks out in my mind is my aunt's evolution from me rolling her in with the wheelchair to our last ICU visit with Paul, and she came walking in with her cane. And this went on for a little while, with him on the ventilator, them having trouble trying to keep his blood pressure up, so he was on medications for that. But slowly but surely, they eventually weaned him off the ventilator and off the medicine for his blood pressure as well. So now we're coming up on April, and I had a vacation plan for spring break, and I didn't know, he was doing well, and they weaned him off the ventilator, so he was in a regular room. So I didn't know at what point they were going to discharge him. And I was like, oh man, I got this vacation. I was kind of worried about it because I didn't know if they were going to discharge him before I was supposed to leave, or while I was gone, or what would happen with that. But the Lord must have known that I needed that vacation because he was still in there, when I came back, but he was doing a lot better. When I got back off vacation, I went to visit with him, and he was looking around, bright-eyed, very alert. And I was just talking to him, showing him videos and pictures from our trip. So at this point, I knew we were on the mend because, his wound on his abdomen had just begun to heal. He was talking a little bit more. They finally found the combination of meds that worked well to help his wound heal. He was tolerating his tube feeding well. So we were just headed in a good direction, and I really knew things were moving forward when I told him Paul, my brother, hiked up a mountain with me. And he didn't say anything, but he looked over at me like, you ought to be ashamed of yourself for telling that tale. And I was like, I know. But I have proof. And so I showed him a video of us making it to the top where the waterfall was. And I was like, that's a beautiful sight, ain't it, Paul? And he was like, yeah, it is. And that moment really gave me more hope, that yeah, we're heading in the right direction. So a week later, on April 23rd, 2021, Paul was discharged from the hospital. That was an amazing day. It was a scary day, but an amazing day. Scary because then it really hit, he's coming home and I'm gonna be responsible, I'm going to be responsible for his life, essentially. Of course, God gives life and takes life, but I was responsible for the care that he would be receiving. And I spent months of preparation of, in preparation of him coming home, getting his house ready, because essentially it was like a bachelor pad after my grandma passed away. I don't know that anything had been dusted since then. So I had a cleaning service come in to do, like the basic cleaning. My uncle and my dad, they kind of straightened out the bedroom where his hospital bed would be for the time being. And I even had my mom down here at some point. She was helping me clean the famous chandelier, my grandma's chandelier in the dining room. And so, it was just months of preparation of getting the house together, just tidying up, everything to make sure it was ready. And that moment, because he had to be brought home by ambulance because we couldn't transport him at the time, when that ambulance pulled up and those doors opened and I saw his face, it was like a sense of joy and wonder. That was the look on his face. And I knew at that moment, I'm like, we're doing the right thing, bringing him home. So, yeah, that was an awesome day. The journey continues in the next segment of Everyday Life with Paul. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when the next video comes out. Journey with me, and thanks for watching.